Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Nordic Sound, a public platform for Nordic music, history, and culture, hosted by me, ethnomusicologist Jameson Foster. And today we have Rúnahild joining us. Just a quick word on Rúnahild is it's kind of cosmic because we are almost 2 years to the day that you came on the channel for the very first time. And you were only the second guest I ever had. So in a lot of ways, this is sort of like an anniversary for me. This is one of the reasons why you're one of the first people I wanted to talk to after Midgardsblot because I don't know,
Oh.
it felt a little bit more special because you were one of the first musicians to take a chance on this weird American who wanted to talk to a bunch of Nordic
Oh.
musicians. And you know, that can't be easy, but welcome back. It's really great to have you back here, Nihil.
Thank you for having me again. Always a pleasure.
Of course, of course. So, what we're going to talk to Rúnahild about today is, you know, we haven't had her on since she released Wounded Healer about 2 years ago. But Rúnahild always impresses me because of how you never seem to stop making music. So, even though it's been 2 years, with normal musicians, you might not even have another album out next, but you've done two in the time that we've had you on. So, but I guess before we talk about both Free Spirit, but mostly of Darkness and Light and your new book, uh, what was Midgardsblot like for you this year? This was your first year since I've been going that you didn't headline in any way. You close it out, but you know, I just love to hear your thoughts on how this year went. Any special memories, anything like that?
This year was particularly amazing experience. I've been I've had a really long time focusing on Midgardsblot. Usually I'm busy with working on the farm and life and everything. But this year, because I had chronic pain, I had to just put a break on the farm work and just
Mhm.
all my energy was focused on my little garden and Midgardsblot and of course what comes next. But so I got to really put a lot of energy into it. And it's just I don't know, it's like there would be so much to say, but it's been like okay, so I'm gonna say like first of all the Bloots, the opening ceremony where we drum with Benny and Gustav and
Mhm.
there was Astrid there too and Eric anyway. And that was what I was most afraid of, that I couldn't do. I was so scared I couldn't play drum 2 hours because I've had so much pain in my
Mhm.
shoulders and like, oh no. But you know, once you're there and you have all and you're doing it for the people, you kind of you forget, you just something just happens, and then you have the
Mhm.
people around, you have people cheering, you have people singing and screaming along, and you get to see everybody coming in a circle one by one and doing their little ritual, and you're just, oh wow. It's, you know, it's so powerful and so beautiful to be I mean, it's become so important for me. I really want to be a part of this. It's like I have to be able to drum for the ceremony.
Mhm.
And so it was just, yeah, I'm really glad because when it just happened, the reason went on, it was so special this year. I felt there was a very special flow of energy. Everybody was really nice, and there are a lot of special memories from this year. And then there was of course the final show with us outside, um and that was a special experience for me in that I have never been able to be that free on stage before. It's been a long journey for me to feel that I have a space on stage, and what's my space? What do I do?
Mhm.
And like, I want to be free. I want to have fun. I want to channel something. And then it was just like, you know, it's very, maybe sounds very stupid, but it's like for me, holding the microphone while singing on stage was, oh my goodness, I was so terrified, and I've never been able to do that step. And I'm like, then you're like, come on, just fit. I'm like, no, I can't do this. It terrifies me. I'm gonna do something clumsy. It's just not gonna end well. But it was
It's
it's
yeah, it's
natural.
all about going with it with that because I remember the Vulture Industries singer actually kept dropping his microphone because he's so active,
Oh,
and it's
oh
all just about acting like you were meant to, like acting
no,
like
it's
you
okay.
intended. Yeah, you know, it's like yeah, I planned to do that. It never takes anything away from the show.
Actually, that's true. Just let go. I
Yeah,
agree.
yeah. And it's interesting that you were talking about also you having a bit of chronic pain that made you intimidated to do the drum circle because if I remember correctly, Espen just sat out from the drum circle for that same reason, right? Because he also had his own show. I noticed he was up on the hill, and I was like, "What are you doing up there? Shouldn't you shouldn't you be
Yeah.
drumming in there?"
Yeah, oh, I
So
understand. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Nobody
mhm.
really has a back problem. I really understand him.
Yeah. And
Like,
then
ooh.
I love that you're bringing up that you felt free on stage because we're gonna talk about this a little bit more because especially when it comes to your music, I remember last time, when I had you on 2 years ago, you had just released your last album with Grimfrost, and so you were now exploring yourself and learning to be more free and more accepting of yourself. And so, in a lot of ways, we're sort of at the other end of this plot arc that you put down for us. Where 2 years ago you were like, "Yeah, I'm scared. I'm scared to express myself. It is scary to do that, especially on a stage." And now here we are at the other end, where you know how much I loved your stage presence with Astral Side. You literally looked like some crazed alchemist, or I just showed last night, Alyssa just watched The Witch for the first time, the movie The Witch. She promised me that
Oh,
she would do it. I don't know if you've seen it. It's a horror movie, but there's a whole thing at the end of it where the witches are all dancing. And it just seemed like at the very end, it reminded me of the way you were sort of like pounding your staff to the beat. And you just looked like you were having so much fun. It was so awesome to see that happen.
oh, it was really special. But it was also the way I mean, I've always also had an issue with looking at the audience. So I always either close
Mhm.
my eyes or look somewhere else in the back or something. But there is something special when you cross this boundary and actually connect with people. I feel, oh my goodness, it's something else. So yeah, and yeah, no, it's been really special
Yeah,
in
because
so
you
many ways.
Yep, you were definitely in your element. I mean, just you reminded me of there's those videos going around of the gnome that's like running around public spaces to dungeon synth music playing, and he'll like just go into a shopping mall and start, stealing stuff off the shelves. And you very much had that same energy where you were just like you could have been playing the music for him. It was just great. I could fawn over that
Oh,
for forever, but there was one specific difference, and that's that you guys were outside this year. You
yes.
performed last year, but you were in the Guildhall.
Yeah.
And this year there was something. I don't know if you want to say more about it, but there was something that just seemed a little bit more special and fitting to me for you guys to be playing under the
Mm,
trees, under the stars.
mm.
Especially with, if I remember correctly, we had the red moon that night.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, it
So
was
if you want
so
to say anything
magical.
about what that was like, yeah.
Well, actually, well, we really wanted to play outside this year because we didn't want the show to be limited to 300, which it is in Yildal, and we felt like, yeah, but now we really want this to be for anybody who wants
Mhm.
to uh, to enjoy, and then Runa gave us really the amazing time. As last on Saturday, it's thanks to Runa. I'm like, wow, like
I
seriously.
loved I loved when you guys were on stage. You were like, "Hold on, we just got a call from Runa that we're allowed to go as long as we want." It was just like,
I
yeah, everyone
it's a,
everyone was.
yeah, exactly. And it was like, because at first you were like, okay, you have to stop at midnight, like sharp. And I was like, okay, no problem. We have planned for this. And then suddenly they come in and like, yeah, actually, you know what? You can just go as long as you want. Like, what? Oh, okay, no problem. I guess we can just improvise. That was so special.
Mhm. Yeah, it was a good time for sure.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Ugh.
Yeah, yeah, it was great. Yeah, so I noticed that in general it just had such a better vibe, like being actually outside, because to me that's just how your music is sort of meant to be experienced, is
Oh,
under an open
thank
sky,
you.
under the trees, all that. And
Oh,
as
so
you
nice.
said, there were way more than 300 people watching. So you can see the immediate benefit of having it outside instead.
Yeah, no, that was really, yeah, and with the trees lit with
Mm-hmm.
colors. Wow. Oh,
Yeah, the vibes were so good, and I
yeah.
just think that you guys just do such a good job. Because when you
What?
think
Yeah.
about it, it's kind of intimidating closing out a whole festival. Like you're
Oh
going to be
yeah.
you're the last impression. You're like, oh God, I don't know how
Like
this is
what?
going to go. Yeah. But
Yeah.
you guys nailed that perfect last night vibe of
Oh,
just everyone having a good
thank
time
you.
under the sky. Yeah.
Wow,
Very
thank
great.
you.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think
And
I can
so,
I would
oh,
want to add
yeah,
something,
please.
because one thing that was also very special for us that we also played on that stage, that's the same place the ceremony held space right by those trees there too, and then we got to play, and
Mhm.
then and it was that was also a special thing.
I hadn't considered that. It's very much like a cycle, you
Yeah,
know?
like there
Like
was
it
the
started
cycle.
and
There
ended
was
in the
like,
same
okay,
place.
yeah, we started and we didn't do so much in between, so it's like for one time's sake.
Oh man, yeah, no, that's a really awesome perspective. I hadn't even thought of that, but that does add
No,
a special power to it, right? Where it begins and ends in the
yeah,
same place. Yeah.
that was really, yeah, yeah,
But and
it's
then
yeah.
even more so is the festival began in the middle of the day and ends in the middle of the night. So
Yeah.
you can really get into how cyclical that is if you want, right? We could
Oh
be here
yeah,
all
oh
day
yeah,
with the
oh yeah.
whiteboard behind us.
I agree. We can do that. Let's do that.
Oh, that is great. All right, yeah, yeah. So no, I agree. This year was really chill, and I really liked it. It was just very the atmosphere was perfect. Everyone just seemed to be there for a really good time.
Mm.
Yeah, overall, I had a really positive experience there this year too. It was just a really good time
Oh,
all around, and I'm glad to hear that it
that's
was that way for the performers too. Because I know with music festivals there can be a lot of that fourth wall where
mm.
you don't, to the festival goers, it can seem like everything's going smoothly, but I know that sometimes behind the scenes it can be a little bit of
Oh
a
yeah, right.
nightmare. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that everyone was having a good time.
Yes.
All right, yeah, yeah. And then so let's talk about the music that you've been doing since the last time we had you on. Because I sort of mentioned to you before I hit the record button that last time we had you on in 2022, you were just starting to deal with these feelings of sort of liberating yourself from anxieties or inhibitions that you felt like were keeping you from really expressing your true self. And in a lot of ways, Wounded Healer, you felt was a first step in that process of learning to
Mm.
express yourself, right? And I remember that you and I had a lot to relate on in terms of like performance anxiety. That's the whole
Mm.
reason I wear a mask. It's just like
Mm. Oh yeah.
I don't, because something about that puts enough of a wall up where I'm like, okay,
Oh yeah.
I can do
I
this, right?
understand. Oh, I
Yeah.
understand.
And
Yeah.
so I related to you so much on that. But after Wounded Healer, you then have this very poetic Free Spirit album, which seemed like a really, good next step in that whole process. And then, of course, now we have ourselves with Of Darkness and Light, which I feel like, at least to me, and we'll get into this a little bit more, where you're being a lot more daring with your sound. Mixing your sound with electronica to create like this folktronica thing is just so cool to me.
Oh,
But I
thank
think, but I,
you.
yeah, but I think before we get to the newest album, I do want to talk at least a little bit in retrospective for Free Spirit, where I know when you're making music, sometimes, when you have a new album, you don't even want to think of the album that came out before it because you're sort of like, different chapter.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
what was the reception of that album like for you? Because I also know that on that album was the first time where I think you sang in English, which I thought was also pretty daring for this music scene. But yeah, anything about that you want to say in retrospective about Free Spirit and how that related to your journey of like self discovery and being comfortable with your own self expression?
Well, yeah, there was a lot about free spirits.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
is the reason for the name Free Spirit. There was just
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. It was also me getting independent again,
Hmm.
not being anymore with a label. That was actually very
Hmm.
important because
Yeah, yeah.
I realized I am. That's how I work. I'm better when
Yeah.
I have control. I just
Yep.
love being in charge.
Yeah,
So
it's nice to be in charge of yourself. It is very freeing.
yes, really just do what you want. It's like it's really good not have to ask anybody else to do when to
Yep.
do or what to do or which song to have or what to sing about. Just do
Hmm.
anyway. And yeah, and that was already one step a bit further in with electronic sounds, but I was
Hmm.
not really daring to go all the way yet. So I
Hmm.
just like, oh, maybe I have a little bit of a kick drum here, but together with drums and a bit of a synthesizer with lyre. And so it was a little bit, it was still not like completely free but I was not there either. I think that I still had inspiration with organic instruments, and so it was so yeah, it was a bit of this mix, trying to dare a little bit new things and what do I really want to do. And but I think there was still a bit of, I still restricted myself though. Like in retrospect, I realized, well, yeah, but I was a bit afraid of doing this. So I was kind of limiting the amount of synthesizer and kind of
Hmm.
limiting the kicks or whatever I was using. And no, I think I mostly got good reactions on it that I've heard of.
Yeah, I
More
mean,
to
it can
say.
be, it can be very scary. It can be very scary, sort of stepping into, especially when you're known for one style, you know. Um,
Yeah,
but you can only do one style for so long, you know, and then you
that's
eventually want to start
yeah.
incorporating other things.
That's what I came to. I realized that okay, if I keep, I'm just gonna make copies of myself, and what's the point of that? I already made those songs. I don't want them
I
again. So
completely
yeah.
understand. And then, so after you're adding like these little bits of electronica into your music, right? Um, I can definitely see that being a the most obvious symptom to me of wanting to sort of step out of your comfort zone or incorporate, these other sounds, especially when you can have, especially in this music scene, you can have a little bit of a puritanical approach to what you're supposed to do, right?
Yeah,
You can have a little bit of that, and so
yeah,
I guess it maybe the first question I want to ask on this specific topic is, especially if there are any other musicians listening, maybe people who want to get started out or something. Is there anything you took away from that experience of taking a chance on adding something a little bit more electronica, or what have you? Was there anything you took away from that experience of just letting yourself do it, of just going for it, that was really liberating in a sense?
yeah. But I mean, for me, it's like I can't. I have to follow my inspiration. I can't create based on expectations. I have to create
Mm-hmm.
based on what I feel. And and I need to feel my songs. Otherwise, I'm not gonna compose. I mean, I just it's not possible. I just
Mm-hmm.
don't have a brain for this. So and I think in the end, you get okay. You will always have people who prefer the original music or your first work, and then they can't really move, and that's okay. I understand that completely. But there are also those who really like, oh yeah, who love the new, and maybe new people, other people who like maybe did not like what you did before and actually like what you do now because it resonates more with them. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think in the end you never know who's gonna like which. It's not necessarily the point either. You kind of like, okay, what do you have inside, and
Mm-hmm.
that's it. It's like, and then again, those songs from the past, I'm not deleting them. They're still available everywhere. So it's not like it's erasing them. It's like it's still available, but I need
Mm-hmm.
to do this. And yeah.
That,
And
you know,
I think, yeah.
that's an important thing that you bring up, because I always wonder about that. You have people who, they have their favorite bands, and then their favorite band goes in a new direction after however many albums where they were doing the one
Yeah.
thing before.
Yeah.
And some people get really upset. Like, I understand, music is
Yeah.
something that's very important to us, and especially when we have a favorite artist and we're just like, no, I really love them for the sound, and then they turn around
Mm,
and do something different.
mm,
I understand that. I understand like wanting them to not change. That's also just a larger existential question of growing up, right?
yeah.
But I've always thought it was a little funny when you consider the fact that the whole discography is still there that you liked. Like, it's still sitting right
Yeah.
over there. You can still
Yeah.
listen to it.
Exactly.
It's in that way, and it's a little liberating to be able to do something new, as especially if you already have enough stuff already on the shelf that you've already done in
Yeah.
the old style. You're like, you can look at
Exactly.
it and say, That was a good time. And now
Yeah,
I'm on to a different time. But that doesn't mean that this stuff doesn't exist anymore.
no, exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah. But I
Yeah, it's all
also
about
understand, yeah.
it's all about
Yeah, no,
perspective
because
because musicians grow up too.
yeah, yeah. But I do also understand, of course, from the audience perspective that yeah, you want the next album from this artist, you need the new songs, and then yeah. So I
Mhm.
get that too, but we
Yeah.
we just have to let artists do what they feel. Otherwise, it's fake, and I don't think it's so. I'd rather have artists being themselves.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Yeah,
And so I guess the question where I want to go from there is when we were talking a couple of years ago about how you wanted to express yourself, I never in a million years would have guessed that you expressing yourself was electronic. Like it was, because that could mean anything. Like I want to express myself. I want to be true to myself. On my end, I have no idea what that means in practice. I don't know what that literally means. I can only understand the metaphor, right? And so
mm.
it's funny listening now 2 years later, like, oh, she meant electronic. Like that's being true to herself at the moment. So the question I want to go from there is, when we had you on last, you were talking about your influences. And I remember you mentioned Fawn as a huge
Yeah.
influence for you when it comes to medieval music. It was funny because my wife and I were just listening to their first albums over the last week or
Mm.
so.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah, so good. But I guess what are your inspirations or what is your history with electronic music that had that deep within you where you were thinking to yourself, this is my true self? Because I don't think it came from Fawn. At least I assume it doesn't come from Fawn. So I just love
No.
to hear you talk a little bit more about your electronic background.
Yeah. Uh, no, for me, that really started in 2018 because before that I did not listen to electronic music at all.
Mhm,
But then there was this summer that things became very chaotic in my life and
mhm,
everything was collapsing and I had suddenly the full responsibility of the farm and I had to do everything. And then the one moment of the day that kind of like saved the day altogether. It's like, okay, I come home in my cabin in the evening and I blasted electronic music, and that is what I needed. It's like, here it is. Oh, here I feel alive again. Here, just the beats, the the quality of song. I can't explain. It just did something with me. It just resetted me every evening. It's just like, oh yes, okay, it's worth doing. It's okay, I can do this. It gave me life energy, and that's when I really fell in love with electronic music, and
mhm,
so and that was like, I don't know, like bands like Entheogenic, carbon-based love forms, Sudoaya, if I should mention a few, but anyway, and then a lot more, and
mhm.
so then I kind of like, oh, that's when it started, but I kind of wanted that some more, like, oh, maybe one day I want to make electronic music, but I have absolutely no clue how you're doing it. I don't even know how they create those sounds. I don't know where it comes from. I just love it.
Yep. And then
So,
along comes Gustav, right?
and then along comes Gustav the same year, same summer. Then we meet at Midgard's again, and that's when we came together.
Mhm,
And he already had a bit of experience with electronic music, so he had some basic, and then he's like, so that's where we started to work together, and then he created Astral Sade,
mhm.
and yeah, that's when it started really. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was a big part of your own healing process after a pretty chaotic point in your life.
Yeah, that was the life
Mhm.
energy that was bringing me on in life, just what I needed.
It's funny because I know for a fact that your farm life is also a lot of what people love about you. You live this very rustic.
Yeah.
Um, Believe it or not, I actually sometimes see around the internet people will post. There's a picture of you and Gustav on your front porch in your A-frame house. And people will be asking, what is the Norwegian name for this type of building? And I've actually seen you
Oh
guys
yeah.
just around the internet, completely unrelated to your music, just as an example of this type of house that people want to know about. And so you have this
Yeah.
very rustic, um, utopian almost, life from the outside looking in. But I think it's really fascinating to hear that just like, music festivals can just be look perfect from the outside looking in, it's not easy having a farm. It's not ideal. It's not perfect. If you
No.
want to say a little bit more about the farm, too,
Uh,
because that is a big part of, why people love following you and all that. But, it's not easy doing a farm.
oh my, it's not. I mean, like, ah, no, it was okay. My real dream from the start is to grow food and live
Mhm,
off the land, but not actually to produce and all of this is not actually, it was
mhm,
not my vision. But that's I need to be doing it. Kind of moved to Norway and came to the farm, and then it was like, well, I mean, it's living with nature and all of that,
mhm,
but and I loved it as long as I was healthy and my body was could carry me and all of this. I did really have I do enjoy being hands in the soil and all of this. So I
mhm.
could and I was really good at the job, and it's like and I love all kind of weather, so I'm kind of weird this way. I kind of enjoy also the rain, although it can be a
Oh
bit
yeah.
much here, but I can find great stuff in everything. So it's like, and so it's been amazing, but it has taken a toll on my body in the end. It was just like I
Mhm,
started being burnt out in 2017, my first burnout, and then second, of course, after 2018, after I had the whole responsibility. And then after that, I kind of stepped down from
mhm,
working on the farm, and now I'm not. I definitely entirely stepped down from it and let
mhm.
other people take over. But I still have my little garden here, so I
Yeah,
still
yeah.
that's very important. I need to grow food. I need the connection with. I don't know. There's just I can't. I don't know. It's just there's something so amazing. Just go in your garden and then you pick a berry here
Mhm.
or a plum here, So
Oh
it's
yeah.
still happening, but on a slow life mode
Exactly.
version.
No, I
Just Gustav
I
and me.
definitely yeah, I definitely relate to you about that because there was a brief time where I worked on a farm, but I didn't get to do that for as long as I wanted to. I had just started working at it and it started to undergo a lot of changes, and so I just sort of they were changing the nature of the farm, when I was just starting.
Oh, okay.
But that's always been a huge part of me too, is living sort of that sort of slow life, but also growing your own food in some capacity. We're on a fourth floor apartment right now, but even Alyssa has a whole bunch of like peppers and tomatoes just on our porch.
Oh, yeah.
And so we've always kept that, and that's always been a big part of my goal in life is to sort of have that
Mm,
sort of little patch of land too, and live off the land and sort of that thing. But you know I think there is something there worth talking about a little bit more is the relationship between the music and that lifestyle. Because I had Chris Welsh on a couple months ago,
mm,
and he was
yes.
actually telling me that a huge part of why he took so well to your music was that how it wasn't just the music, it was also the lifestyle you were living. And he took that so
Mm,
far as to actually follow it himself, right? So now he works on, well,
mm,
he did work on a
all
farm.
right.
Now he works at
Yeah.
a living and dying center. But there is something there to that relationship between that kind of living off the land or growing your own food or some sort of connection to the land and this
Mm.
style of music. Do you want to say a little bit more about at least what it means to you? I'm giving you free time to sort of like maybe talk through these feelings yourself because I know you said you don't really know how to put it into words. But if you want to try, I'd love to talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah, yeah, it is hard to put into words, but it is absolutely how do you say that? It can't be separated. It's
Mm-hmm.
as my lifestyle is definitely what to me makes my music. I mean, I can't separate these two because I mean, like, yeah, I go out. I'm simply am in nature all the time, so it's like all the energy, atmosphere that I experience every day. That's what I pour into the music all the time. That's
Mm-hmm.
regardless of what music genre I'm playing. I mean, it's just, it's just, and I mean, it's always been also from the start I make music. It's always been I want to share the magic of nature with people somehow through sounds. Well, of course, photography as well. But I kind of I had this idea or inspiration that I wanted to somehow capture what I feel, what I experience, and make sounds or sing out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it simply, it is integrated into, if I listen to any of my songs from the past and the time it was recorded, I have all these memories surrounding it, like is it mushroom period or is it spring? And it's like, then I get all this the same. So,
Mm-hmm.
so I really wish I could put better words into it, because it's so deep and
Mm-hmm.
wholesome. I don't know. Again, I really wish I could put better words to explain this.
That's what the music's for.
Yeah, exactly. It's like,
Yep.
okay, yeah, and that's also like you just said it. It's like when
Mm-hmm.
you can't put words on all of this, that's why you make music instead, because it does it. It does it
Yeah, very
better.
much so. Yeah, it's I'm pretty sure it was the German poet Heinrich Heine that said music begins where words end.
Mm,
And I do think that
yes.
there's a lot there. Even as we're sitting here, I know you're doing this in not your native language and not even your second language, but English. Having to ask you to explain these things that are already difficult to explain in a second or third language, that's not fair. That's why we have music there, right? And yes, and
Yes.
I definitely hear it. I definitely hear it in your music, and at least to me, that's also why I love listening to a lot of traditional music, is because my two favorite traditional music styles are Norwegian and Appalachian, and because both of those styles are very much born of the farm,
Yeah.
and so in a lot of ways there's something deep behind it, even if it's not
Mm,
explicit. It's
mm,
more intrinsic to the music itself,
exactly.
is the life that makes the music, at least to me. I don't
Exactly.
know.
Yeah. I so agree. Yep.
Cool, awesome. And so now, after Free Spirit, we find ourselves at Of Darkness and Light, which I did a review of when it first came out. So you know how I feel about that album. I think
Yes.
there's something to me that's just so inspiring to see a musician just say to hell with what any criticism might be of me sounding very different. I'm going to do what's true to myself, because
Mm.
people who don't make music and only listen to it might not understand just really how scary that is, especially when you
Yeah.
already have a following, right? And
Oh
when
yeah.
you have
Oh
a
yeah.
following that you do, and we were just talking about these expectations, and for you to sort of look in the musical mirror and say, I could do what I've always been doing, but then
Mm.
I'll be dead inside.
Mm.
Or I can take a chance
Yeah.
and do what's true to myself, even
Yeah.
if it might alienate some people. That is a very tough decision, and it's not one that's made lightly either. But I
Oh,
really think
I
that it paid off.
definitely.
Yeah. You,
I
if you
mean,
want to
I've
say something,
definitely
yeah.
been. I was just gonna say, I've definitely been really, really scared about releasing it. I'm like, oh, like it's like when I'm doing it, I don't understand. I'm just do. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm actually going to release this. I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
So how are
Mm-hmm.
people going to react to this? Like maybe they will just hate it. Like, oops,
Mm-hmm.
okay, oh, that's a huge. Okay,
I know.
just.
Yep, I understand. It's very, very intimidating, right?
Oh
Especially
yeah.
because you do know, right? Because you are not a completely self-absorbed artist, right? You know that your music means a lot to people, and there is that relationship that you form with the people who listen to you.
Mm.
And I have a feeling we might be the same about this, but we don't like letting people down, right? We
No,
don't like
exactly.
disappointing people, right? And so
Mm.
there's also that balance internally of what I need versus what the people who rely on me need, right?
Yeah.
Um, that's a whole other layer to why that can be a little scary to do. But I guess
Yeah.
what were there any mantras or anything you kept saying to yourself that sort of helped you through that terrifying process of doing something completely new as a musician?
No, no, I think again, it's that I think I have more to give if I am myself than if I am not. And that's, yes, I think that's really just is that. It's like, okay, it's more important because it's true. I mean, at least it's something that I feel, and Yeah, I think I lost the thread. I'm not sure how to end this sentence.
Well, if I can end it for you, I would say that I think I speak for a lot of people when I say that I would much rather take you as yourself than as you forcing yourself to be someone else. Because I think that like what was in there from you being your true self was really beautiful and unique. Listening to Of Darkness and Light. Yeah,
Yes.
we would never have you as anything other than your true self.
Oh, thank you.
Of course. Yeah, so I guess something that really struck me about the album is actually how well and how organically your old sound mixed into this folktronica sound palette of these kicks, these synthesized drum patterns, and also the piano I thought was such an awesome. I'm going to say, if I may, it made it seem like it reminded me a lot of Ivor too. Maybe I'm also
Oh
thinking of that just the way that she also just had her new album come out, and I really
yeah.
do view, maybe it's also because both of those album covers had the same color palette, which
Yeah, that's actually
could not
true.
have been coordinated because no way
No,
that could have been coordinated.
no, absolutely
Um,
not.
it happens to have the same color palette, and then it's also this combination of old style with a new poptronica style. So I guess if I could if you can answer this, did you have like a plan of attack for how you would do it, or did you just sort of let it flow?
No, let it flow 1%. That's how I work. I have no idea where I'm going with things usually. It
Mhm.
just happens. Yeah. Absolutely.
What was the first edition, the drum kit or the piano? Do you remember?
Drum kick.
The drum
Yeah,
kit,
drum
yeah.
kick. Yeah, piano came much later in. Yeah.
Because I can also see that, the piano especially, because I personally I feel like an electric guitar would have fit better more obviously than a piano. I would have expected a guitar to come in before a piano, but you just went right for the piano, and just it creates the same thing that Anne did from Ivor's. You both just accomplished like this very ethereal sound palette that sort of makes me feel like I'm just floating along the cosmos, just sort of going with wherever the music will take me.
Oh,
So
cool.
yeah, it was so it's funny because I don't even know where to start with talking to you about making the album, because it was just there's so many places to go with it. But I guess maybe I can just open it up a little bit more, maybe just do a more open-ended question of sort of, how did this album come about? What sort of inspirations, what did you want to accomplish with this album going out the gate? I guess just anything you want to say about sort of how you went into making this album, I would love to hear.
So I can start with the first song that was recorded, which
Mm-hmm.
is In Between Worlds.
Mm-hmm.
And that was after we played at Forest Star in Sweden last year.
Oh, that's
And
right.
yes, and it was the first time. But first of all, we did not understand we were playing at the electronic festival, so we don't know how we understood this. And then we realized, oh my goodness, everybody else are DJs. But what are you going to do there? It's like, oh god, this is so weird. Like, that was the scariest show
Mm-hmm.
I've ever. I was, oh my god, I was going to die before the show. I'm like, everybody know what they're doing. I have no clue. I have like a few loops here because I thought something else in my mind. I had prepared for something else. And then, yeah, anyway, I'm going to shorten this. The point was just that it was the first time I had experience with playing with electronic with loops and having some electronic sounds, and being at this festival and listening to all the DJs and just being blasted like, oh, this is just so amazing. And and then okay, I hope this makes sense because I'm going in every direction in my head.
Yeah,
But
making perfect sense so far.
yeah, but the point was that, well, yeah, I felt that, oh, how are people gonna like what we do when everybody else are DJs, they know what they're doing, they know their stuff. I have no idea. And we got such an an excellent response. I was like, what? Like, you loved it? Well, really, it really worked. Like, kind of some people start to dance. I mean, we saw it from the stage, but it's like took time that it understood. Oh my goodness, it actually really worked. And it was a lot of fun too. It was like very liberating. It was full improvisation because everything, well, nothing went as planned. So I really ended up with having, we have to kind of like 50 minutes improv with 3 loop sounds and 2 kicks.
Mhm.
So it was like, I was just like, and then after that, I was like, oh, okay, I had so much fun. And there is just, I feel that that's it. That's the opening. I'm going to go electronic music because I feel it. There is something there. And I just have to learn more. I have to learn how to do it and all of that. And then I wanted to make a remix of Rúnahild, but with electronic sound, but this not turned out at all. And I instead created In Between Worlds because there was new idea coming in, and it was just like, okay, this is not Rúnahild anymore. Never mind, it's a new song. So that's how In Between Worlds was started. I wanted to create something that reminding me of what I experienced at the festival, and just, okay, I'm going electronic. I love this music. It gives me this energy. I just have to find a way to also just full on compose with it. And so that was the start. And then all of the other songs, yeah, I didn't think so much about that it should be electronic necessarily, but it just happened kind of. I didn't, yeah, and I also, yeah, like I said earlier, I've been composing on the lyre for so long, and I feel like if I pick up a lyre now and play something, it's gonna be the same thing again. So
Yeah.
it was very, very nice to just, instead, I take my keyboard, I press whatever key, and I'm like, okay, what comes on this? Is there a song coming? And it's like, oh, here comes a song. Okay, let's let's work from there. So
I understand
yeah, it's
that
been
completely.
very
That's
nice.
that's why I stopped playing guitar almost entirely, because I grew up playing bass guitar and guitar, and it got to the point where, after 15 years of playing it, I feel like every time I picked up that instrument, I would just do the same thing over and over again. And so that's one
Yeah,
of the reasons why I started looking for a different instrument to play. And that's how I landed on the banjo,
yeah.
was because it was like so different. They look similar. You could look at a banjo and look at a guitar and be like, well, how different can they be? Fairly.
Oh
They can
yeah,
be fairly
yeah. Oh,
different.
definitely. Oh
And so,
yes,
yeah, so
absolutely.
for me, especially with the way that, I do claw hammers, like your percussion, you're essentially like smacking the string, right? And so, like, this
Oh
whole
yeah,
thing was so different to me. And
yeah.
so I'm definitely relating to you on that. There's something liberating about picking up a whole new instrument that you do not know how to play and just sort of looking at what comes out, because you can
Yes,
really
exactly.
surprise yourself. And in a lot of ways, it can also be inspiring, knowing that you can pick up something new and still
Mm,
make something that's somehow genuine to yourself. There's
yep,
something interesting about that, right?
absolutely. Yeah, no,
No, my brain's running too, because there's also no. Okay, so here's a thought. Here's a thought that I've been having for a while of listening to this style of music. In music history that I teach here at Boulder, we talk about this thing called sacred raves. I don't know how familiar you are with sacred raves, but at least in the
Mm,
United States, when church attendance was going down with teenagers, they
okay.
were like, they were like, well, how do we get the kids to come to church? And they were like, the priests were kind of like, well, they're going to raves, so what if we did mass raves, right? So what if
Okay.
they
I've
so
never
but and
heard of
trust me,
that.
I'm going somewhere with this. So in the 90s, really, in the early 2000s, these sacred raves of like these night masses for kids start popping up all over the place. And it would be, the priest would be a DJ, and he would be sort of like the MC and hyping everyone up, but it was
Oh
a
wow.
Christian mass. And so I'm teaching kids about this, and then I listen to Heilung, and I go and I see a Heilung concert, and I'm
Yeah.
like, well, it's not Christian at all, but this is really reminding me of sacred raves a lot. And I'm
I
using
see the
Heilung
point,
as just
yeah.
one example, because you also, right, you maybe even more with the rave part, right? Where, especially now that you're doing more electronic stuff. When I was at Midgard's Blow, I was watching you, I was like, this is a pagan sacred rave in a lot of ways. And the way that this is sort of coming together, right, is if you think about, Christian music being before a more acoustic thing and now this, I know a lot of people are
Mm.
probably getting upset at me drawing parallels between Christian and pagan stuff, but whatever, it's my podcast. Um, we, you look at that, at least the spiritual side to it, where we have this older
Mm.
music that's associated with it, but now we're putting it with rave music. And I see a lot of that same thing with you in Of Darkness and Light, where you're taking your old sound that is really just lyre, frame drum, singing. If I were to put Rúnahild's music
Yeah.
into 3 words, that would be it, right?
Yep.
Um,
Sounds right.
but now mixing it with like that more danceable, that beat that lines up with your heartbeat rave aspect to it, of
Mm.
people just coming together and dancing freely.
Mm.
There aren't nearly enough glow sticks, which we do need to do something about next year. We need more lights and stuff, but
Oh, yeah.
I think there's definitely something there too when I see the way that you combine this older style of yours into something that's more of a rave culture of people dancing freely and expressing themselves. Do you
Mm.
see that at all, or am I sort of hitting a dead end here?
Oh no, that was very interesting actually. I didn't actually know about the sacred rave thing. So I was like, okay,
Okay.
that's
Yeah, I see this as a pagan
makes
parallel of
sense. I get
sacred
it.
raves. I think that's what I'm getting at.
But I can see that. But I mean, in any case, like I don't either. I mean, like in my mind, spirituality, and whatever you
Mm-hmm.
want to, people
Mm-hmm.
choose whatever they want to name it. I mean, like it's the same in my mind.
Yep.
So, and of course, and yeah, I kind of can see that. Yeah, because like, I mean, with music, we of course we do I mean, somehow want to inspire for some sort of a spiritual reconnection, at least to
Mm-hmm.
Mother Nature and what one to each other too. I mean, just so it makes sense. I can see the
Yeah, and
connection
I,
there.
I I definitely see that you're doing a lot in sort of bridging those. We're talking about this tune in between worlds. Now, I always thought it was like this in between worlds of the pop tronica and that old more grassroots style that you did. That sort of seemed to me like the two worlds that we were standing in between. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there are so many meanings beyond in between words. It's in between
Mhm.
words in so many ways. It's like, yeah.
Well, we can leave the mystery. I don't want you to have to tell us
Yes.
all of the answers. You know what I mean? Because then where's the fun in that,
Gonna
right?
take too long. Yeah.
We would be here for another 2 hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there? So we also have the book to talk about that was sort of like a companion to the album. But I guess before we get on with
Yeah.
the book, was there? I guess now looking back on that album, was there anything that you took away from that process in particular? Because I always look at albums as snapshots in artists' lives, because in a lot of ways they're like a notebook or a journal or something
Oh yeah.
that we
Yeah.
keep for that period of our life, and then the output is an album.
Mm.
So I guess if I could focus this question, my questions have been a little all over the place today, but that's because I just love. I'll find any reason to just talk with you more. But I guess if I can focus a question a little bit better, was there anything from the process of the music of Darkness and Light that you sort of like really stuck with you, or that you took away from making this album that you feel like you're going to carry onwards for a little bit?
Um. Oh wow, that's I really don't know how to not I'm not sure how to answer this one.
Mhm.
Mm. Like my brain does just not find an answer.
No, that's
I
okay.
just
That's
I mean just
okay.
it's like
Be-
I don't know. Don't know. Sorry.
No, don't worry about that. No, no. So if it comes up later, we can talk about it, because I just think that we have talked about definitely a takeaway for you has been follow your gut, be true to yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then also that there is definitely a market there for a combination of this more shamanic Rúnahild side that we've come to know and love, and the electronic side. That there's definitely is definitely worth further exploring the mixture of those two. But yeah, I guess if I
Yeah.
can say my piece, it's been really, again, I will just conclude, if we're going to tie a bow on the conversation of it in darkness and light, it would just be that it's just like so inspiring to me as someone who's sort of like finding their footing as a musician to just see what happens when someone fearlessly is just fearlessly true to themselves, even if it can be scary. It really is
Yeah.
inspiring, and I was really happy to see that it came together in a really beautiful album.
And I mean, and I guess what I mean, like, it's definitely not fearlessly in that way that
Okay.
I see what you mean, but there is a lot of fear involved.
Well, to us, to the listener, it seems fearless because you did it anyway.
Yeah, but that's the point. That's the point because it's like, well, yeah, I mean, of course, well, yeah, what do you do when you have fears? Do you just surrender to them and stop? Or do you, okay, I understand there is
Mhm,
fear, but you can use it, as a fuel, as a power, as like
mhm,
instead of letting it stop you, it's like, okay, it's here, like acknowledge that it's here because it
mhm.
is, but why is there the fear? And is it to actually warn you of a danger, or is it a real thing, or is it just your fear of existing or just simply being? And I think that sometimes,
Your
oh,
fear
that's
of
so
getting up
sorry,
in the
that
morning.
sounds so bad.
No, I like
I'm
that.
sorry.
I
That's
love that.
but that's sorry, that's kind of like how it is for me. Like, I think that if I should boil down to what is all these fears about, is like, is existing, having taking its space in life. And who are you? Are you allowed to be? I mean,
Mhm.
it's like, because it's not a real fear. Exactly. It's not like people are gonna come here and kill me because I made an electronic album, right? So
Mhm.
it's not a real fear.
You're gonna wake up one morning, have your coffee, stretch, open up your front door to that beautiful view you have, but it's just like from the Simpsons movie. It's just like a wave of people with torches and pitchforks, like, we've come for you, Rúnahild. We hear you put piano on your new album and we're not happy
Yeah,
about it.
no.
You just close the door and just
Like, oh, okay.
no, it really
Never
is
mind.
because yeah, because I told you this a couple years ago, but I've just like anyone else, I've gone through a lot in the last couple of years. But really, it was your music, at least for me, and I was a pretty latecomer to your music compared to a lot of the friends that I've made in this who've been listening to you for much longer than I've been listening to you for. But in a lot of ways, like seeing you play music and knowing that it's been this process of self-discovery, I think has really been inspirational to me personally, because you know that I came from a conservatory, this classical music background, and
Mm,
I love it. I love classical music. I've still got my bass back here. I play it all the time, but this process of like, what am I when I strip all of that back and just let myself be as I am?
mm,
If I let myself, instead of doing all these shoulds, right? I should do this, should do this, should do that. What happens if I
yeah,
just be? I've
exactly.
gotten I've gotten a lot of that from just listening to you. And so if I could just take a moment to just voice appreciation, the reason that I love your music so much is because I do really feel a kindred spirit in watching someone else sort of like parse through the impossible task of learning who you are, you know?
Mm.
And your music is a lot of just like working through that. Who am I? If I
Yep.
just let myself be as I am, what happens? And that's why
Mm.
when I heard of Darkness and Light, I was like, she's still doing it. What happens if I just let myself be? Right?
Oh, wow.
So there's a lot of value to that. And now I promise
Mm.
I'm going somewhere with this, because this isn't just me sitting here gushing over you. Because I warned you that I was going to sort of bring up the topic of your influence, the influence that you are having on other people. Because I will say that this is now my third Midgardsblot. And every year I go, there are more and more women in particular who sing just like you do around the bonfire, right? And not saying that they're all copying you, but what I'm instead trying to suggest is that you are giving a lot of women in particular tools that they wouldn't otherwise have for this mode of self exploration, self discovery, self expression. So, how weird is it? How does it feel? Like, if I were to tell you that, like, there are people there who are clearly taking what you're doing and running with it and using it for their own, purpose of finding out who they are. Is that scary that people are sort of taking you to that level of importance in their life, or what is that like?
It's kind of surreal, and in the same time it's like it's it's so difficult for me to really understand. Like it's like it's dissociation, or I don't know how to say it, but it's
Yep.
like, oh yeah, there is a me in every day, and it's like whatever, and it's like, and I don't understand this. But on the other side, it's like if anything I do actually end up inspiring other people or helping anybody else, then it's like, I mean, wow. It's like
Hmm.
that's that's beyond words. I can't possibly process this with words. It's like,
Yeah. I
what?
to put it yeah, to put it shortly, like you're making a difference for people. And whenever I'm around one of the bonfires, one of the nights, or it's even started to happen like during a Folkebord for Nordavinden concert or even at the blow up ceremony, like every time I hear someone who's singing just like you do, my first thought is there's an other person that Rúnahild has touched. Like there's another person
Oh,
that is
wow.
using Rúnahild's music for some
I'm not
very
just
important. Yeah, it's always interesting to me because I can always pinpoint. I'm
yeah.
like, there's another one.
Oh, oh, that's just that's yeah. That's no,
Yeah,
I can't find words. I'm just
yeah, I
but
know.
it's
I
yeah,
felt like it
no,
was worth. I felt like it was worth pointing out to you because
yeah,
sometimes we can. I know as artists we can get in our own heads. We get stuck there too, and it's not a great place to be
mm,
stuck. But at least
no.
for me, boots on the ground, I see that happen. I'm like, good. I'm glad that that's happening because that at least happened to me.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah, yeah,
yeah, it's just
yeah.
fascinating to see happen. Like actually, like find them in the wild. Like there's another person who loves Rúnahild. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, well, I can tell that I've caught you off
oh.
guard a little bit. So if we can move off the topic of how much you mean to people, and we can instead talk about the book because I would love to talk about the book.
Like, we yeah.
I feel so
I'm
bad. You're like, what do I even say to that? People, yeah, but yeah, let's talk about the book. So, did you know that you were going to be doing a book with the album, or sort of did you finish the album and think, I've got photography and I've got writing that I could also put with this?
Both yes and no.
Okay.
I did not. Okay, I have been wanting to. First of all, I wanted to make a book with photography for a really long time. It's been
Mm-hmm.
years since I've been dreaming of making a book, but I never had the story. Like, and I felt
Mm-hmm.
like I want like some kind of some. I don't want to just have pictures. I want some kind of a story. And then I started working with the album, and then it was the few months into it, and then I don't know, suddenly it kind of just like, well, you know what I mean, like I have all these pictures now, and I have written at least two texts. It sounds very small, and I just, and then it was like, well, and I have ideas for the rest, and kind of like, and it's not much writing, it's like, yeah, it's like every the text kind of reflects each of the song. So
Mm-hmm.
it's seven, I hope I'm not saying something wrong now, seven main texts to reflect the song there, because one song is the same, yeah, twice.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, yes. And and somehow it all snowballed. I think you can say this.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah,
just
yeah.
snowballed. It's just like it just all happened. And like, and I wasn't in that bubble, and it just all happened. And in the end, it's like, okay, I have a song for each text, but then there was Mirror of the Soul, the text Mirror of the Soul. I did not have a song for it. So then the song, so then I went on the keyboard and and like, oh, I just got it. It's like, there it is. It's like surprise, because I thought I was always young. I was like, okay, it's finished. I have it, 7 songs, it's done. And then suddenly this last one completed the text and reflected it. But like, oh, here it is. Now I
Mm-hmm.
have the album, 8 songs. So it was a little bit. So yes. So in the beginning, no, I didn't think there would be a book, but then suddenly it happened, and then there it was. Just took a few months of complete hyper focus.
Mhm.
The only thing I've been
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah, because there is, so what you're saying is there's sort of a dance between the book and the photography and everything and the music that sort of
Yeah.
started to influence the way that the album came together too.
Yeah, it kind of started to go in all directions. I
That
mean,
is
like
so
first
cool.
actually it's even more than that. Because the song A Whole Universe Within, that was written because I had a text at the end of the song for it. That was really intentional. I'm like, I have this text that's I need a song for this one, A Whole Universe Within. I need to create a song for it. So yeah, and it just kept going like this. So yes.
Mhm. Yeah. No, it is great because when you are an artist, you got to get these things out. And I think that it's just like you can definitely see that there's something that needs to come out from the way that you're engaging with all of these different kinds of art. It's not just music. You're also doing
No,
photography and
yeah.
and writing and all of this. And
Mm.
it's just really cool to see how all of these things are sort of coming together and creating this little cosmos that is Runahild's art. It's
Yeah.
really cool to me to see that happen. Do you think you're going
Oh.
to do another? Do you think you're going to do another photography book, or was this one of those things you did it once and you're like, okay, that was a lot?
That's a very, I mean, I do want to make another book eventually. It's gonna take
Mhm.
probably, well, I don't know what, but
Oh yeah, yeah.
but when it comes to photography, like I mean, like I need to have new photographies. I feel that this is like 14 years of me taking a lot of pictures and
Hmm.
selecting the absolute best of all of them. And my way of taking photography has kind of changed because yeah, it's just I don't travel so much anymore in Norway, so I
Hmm.
don't have all these different sceneries anymore, and I have taken really a lot of pictures, and I feel now I still want to take them, but it's different. It's I also use much more my phone than my camera at this point,
Hmm.
like because it's just sometimes you just don't want to carry your gear up the mountain.
I
That's
know
just what
the
it
I know
is.
the feeling. I dabble I
It's like
dabble in photography, and I had that same thing happen. I got a camera for wildlife photography, and there's so
yeah.
many
Oh wow,
times where
yeah.
I'd be carrying that thing around. I'm like, I don't want to carry this. And then, of course, the one time I do leave the camera home is when I see the animal I wanted to get a picture of. You know how it
Yes.
goes.
Oh yes. Oh yeah. Like big time.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Or the perfect sunset, and you're like, oh, so happy I left my camera at home.
Exactly. Oh, that's happened so many times. Oh, that's painful.
Yeah,
Actually, that's really painful.
yeah, it is. I feel
Oh, it
it
is.
right here. I feel it
Oh
right here.
yeah.
It
Oh my
hurts.
God. I get so restless. I'm like, I get so upset. It's like, or even when you drive by the road and you have this perfect moment, but then you're
Mhm.
driving, right? So you can't just stop and take, and then it's gone. It's like, I will never be happy again. It's like, I could
God,
see
you are
picture, please.
you you are making me feel so much better because there have been times where Alyssa and I will go on a hike and we have like some beautiful buck walk by us on the trail, and I'll be like, I don't
Oh.
have my camera on me, and she's like, oh great,
Oh.
are you gonna sulk the rest of the hike? And I'm like, no, but I totally am.
Yes. Oh, same. And it's like that.
Oh God,
Oh.
thank you for making me feel less weird.
You're not alone.
Good, that's good to know.
Uh,
All right,
so,
so
but
so I
yeah,
oh yeah, yeah, keep going.
no, just sorry, just yeah, so yeah, I might make another book, but it might not be this super photography book. It might be just maybe smaller format, and I'm not sure where I have ideas at this point, but yeah, maybe more
Mhm.
small things. We'll see. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah. So then I guess where I guess we could leave it for today would be sort of talking about what's next for Runahild. Because at least from my perspective, and this is just from an outsider looking in, it at least feels like we've completed this arc of, when I had you on 2 years ago, you were starting to feel things out, had this new sense of freedom. And now with Of Darkness and Light, it just really seems like we're at least at the end of an arc of you being like, cool, I'm really comfortable with who I am as an artist, with the music that I make. Even if you might not necessarily feel that way yourself, at least from a listener's perspective, that's what it sounds like to me. So with everything that you've been through in the last couple of years and everything that you've accomplished musically and as an artist, what's next for Runahild, if anything, that you can talk
Yeah.
about?
There is next. I'm already working on it. Um, but I kind of like, well, you kind of see it quite. I mean, I definitely do feel like I'm on a different place or like on another side of something.
Hmm.
And so what is next is that I am finally I'm taking back some of my old songs,
Oh
like
yeah.
say Rúnahild, for example, and I'm giving them a new electronic twist. But I am
Ooh.
mixing the original with the layers and whatever is there with the electronic sounds and expanding their soundscape. So that's what I'm like, you have no, I'm like, I don't know if this is gonna just be a few singles or if it's gonna be an album at this point. I don't know because there are so many times I'm saying I can't do this. I'll never. So we'll see if I do it because I'm like, you should hear me to Gustav. I can never do this so hard. And then finally it clicks. I'm like, I got it. Finally, I got the song.
Ah, that is such a beautiful moment as an artist when it
It
clicks like
goes,
that. Yep.
yeah. But
But at
it
least
is a lot of
maybe,
those moments.
yeah, maybe it'll
So
be
we'll
more
see.
motivation for you now that you've said it publicly
Yeah, and I
that
said
you're
it
working on it.
publicly,
Now,
so
now
we'll see.
you've
But in worst
committed.
case, at least I will be singles. At least I will be singles. Maybe an album.
Awesome. And I guess, you know what?
So,
I will say this has reminded me, there is just one last question. How are you always doing as much as you do? It like you are always, you have had an album out like at least once a year since I started listening to you at least. And I know everything that goes into making an album and all of that. How do you do it? How are
that's
you that productive with making music?
well,
It's intimidating to me, but also
I know.
inspiring.
No, that's all I do.
It's all
That's
you
and
do.
it's more and more all I do. It's like it
Mm-hmm.
like okay, I used to work on the farm, so that was taking a lot of my time. But even then I will still find a way to it's just it's and I just I need this. I need to
Mm-hmm.
be in creativity. I need new sounds. It's my drive. It was makes me happy. It's like nature too, but it's like it's a different. It's both. I just need both of them, and I can't choose one of the other. But it just yeah. No, I just
Mm-hmm.
I live for this. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
I guess
I
I don't know.
mhm. I envy
and
you
and, and, and
because there's so many distractions in life, and you somehow sort of just go through them. You just work anyway. There's some times
but
where I get
that's
so hung
also
up on the distractions. I don't know how you do
yeah,
it.
but that's also the point. I mean, like that's also the part of like I live very isolated. I do not have social network. I mean, I don't socialize that, and I don't really socialize that much, apart from festivals. So because I don't, that's how I am. I just don't do that. So
It's not my
sorry,
thing.
I just don't do that. Nobody's true. That's but the point is that's I am always in this bubble and in nature and I don't do all the stuff. I don't
Mhm.
go to town and well I mean I have like internet and I scroll down through social medias and stuff like that, but I don't have that many distractions in that way and I don't have children, nor do I have any obligation or that much really. And so I think that's also the reason why I kind of like I have shaped a lifestyle that gives me as much free time for music as I possibly can have because that's
Mhm.
really what I want to have. And that's how I am too. So it's not like a compromise or sacrifice. It's more like I've been feeling like, oh, maybe I should be more social. It's not normal to be that much into my bubble. But then okay, and then it's like that's just simply who I am. So and
Mhm.
it's okay. We all different, and that yeah, that has its good side and its bad sides, and but yeah,
But it's you.
yeah.
Awesome. And so I said just one more question, but I have a very specific question to me that's been actually nagging at me this whole interview. Are those headphones Sony bass boosters?
I
The
Sony at
headphones
least,
that you
yeah.
have?
Yeah,
So they,
I guess at
they
least so.
don't make those anymore.
I know that I know.
So I have to tell you, this happened. This I noticed this the second you got on the call. Those headphones were pretty much unremovable from my head throughout all of high school and all of college. And then
Oh,
they broke. They physically broke in like
uh,
2020, 2021.
oh,
I had them for 10 years. They were the best headphones I ever had in my life. They were so
so
comfortable. The bass frequencies are so good. And then I was like,
yeah,
well, I
I
guess I'll
agree.
just have to buy some more. And then I went online and you can't buy them anymore. And so I had like a very heartfelt funeral for it. And I was like, okay, because at least for
Oh,
Alyssa met me in those headphones. Like she would see me
oh
walking
yeah.
across college campus and I always had those headphones on. So it was like a part of me died when those died. And
Oh, I
anyway,
understand.
it's actually really beautiful for me to see that those are the exact really specific niche pair of headphones that you are
Oh,
wearing.
but you know, actually, like, I mean, in the base, mine start to be a little bit, and I also wanted to buy new, and was like, "You're gonna be kidding me! I can't
Yeah.
get the same again."
Take care of them for me. You need to keep those
I
alive
do
for
my
me.
best. I do my best. I do my
They're
best.
so they're literally my adult life has been defined by me trying to chase the high of those perfect
Oh,
headphones. And it's just
exactly.
hasn't happened. It hasn't happened. But
Oh no!
someday,
Oh no!
and I will let you know. I will send you
So
a
yeah,
message if I
please.
found the
You
next
too.
ones, but no
You
luck so
too.
far.
You too. Because I mean, like, well, yeah, I can't mix bass or drums with them anymore. I have to use other
Oh yeah.
headphones, but they work
Yeah.
otherwise. So
Anyway, that was my very specific
anyway,
last comment I had to make sure that
so
I made
nice.
because it was a little cosmic for you to be wearing those headphones.
So cool.
All right, awesome.
Oh,
Well, Rúnahild, as I said, it is, it was very intentional for me to have you be my first post Midgardsblot guest on the channel this year because, in a lot of ways, this channel kind of started with the interview I did with you. You were the
mm,
second guest that I had, but in a lot of ways, you were sort of my gateway into this really beautiful community that's been nothing but so accepting and welcoming of me and all that, and very supportive of me too.
oh,
And it really did, in a lot
yeah.
of ways, start with you, taking that
Oh,
chance to have
wow.
a conversation with some random American.
Oh.
And so, happy 2 year anniversary. And it was just been like
Yeah.
so, it's been so great to talk to you again. And let's not let it be another year or another 2 years before I have you on again. All right.
No rights.
All right, cool. Well, you
Yeah, but
hang out a little bit after I end the record button. But just I guess if it's not redundant, if people want to learn more about you, if people want to follow their music, where can they do so?
yeah, it's on Bandcamp and Spotify and then most digital platform. And are also CDs or merch for sale on the web shop, on the
All right.
official web shop.
Awesome. Well, yeah. Well, hopefully more people will go to check out your music if they haven't already, and hopefully some will check out that awesome book you did. I know I flipped through it a bit at the Midgardsblot, the merch tent and all that. It was very beautifully done. So anyway, Rúnahild, thank you so much for coming back on the channel, and I'm looking forward to talk to you again whenever you have that new music out. All right.
Yep, and thank you so much for having me. It's been super great.
Of
So
course, you are always welcome on the Nordic Sounder to help.
thank you.
All right, cool. Yeah, hang out after I stop the record button. Take care.
Take care.